Okay, banner review. Today is June 2nd. About to be June 3rd. June 3rd already on EU. So let's take a look here. Foca Expa still in progress. Remember that the reset up Valkyrie and reset up equipment might be a little bit hard to see, but the schedule is posted in the news in-game. We went over that bit last week. So if you guys still need, if you captains still need Foca Expa, just, you know, double check what you need. Double check what pieces of gear you're looking for, preferably not old stuff. Mistalin still has about just under 2 weeks. Same for her gear. Focus B! Echoes of Paradise. Echoes of Paradise. I would probably say don't roll on this banner if you're a new player. Like, Echoes of Paradise is really good, but I think Echoes of Paradise is available in the spending event shop. If you are topping up and you're trying to catch up, then, you know, you roll according to your means. If you can afford it, sure, roll if you want. If you are on a constrained budget, my suggestion is that you don't. Just don't. A lot of the weapons, just from a glance, are old meta. You know, Keys of the Void is in exchange shop, it's old meta. Dark Star is collectible. Hecate's Gloom, there's a couple of niche strats, but it's also in the exchange shop. So, like, depending on how unlucky you get on rolling for, you know, really new stuff, you might have an option to get Hecate's without needing to spend additional crystals, because you know, spent those crystals rolling for new stuff, and you, etc. Sanguine Gaze, old meta. Starlands Prime, old meta. Cerulean Flare, utility, but semi-old meta. It was previously given out for free. It is one thing that is kind of nice to have when those strats turn up, where it's useful, but Fischl, more or less, has kind of been phased out. It still remains like a decent placeholder weapon for your other bow users as well, but it's not something that you would prioritize and go out of your way for rolling, especially when it's only in the off rates. Now, all the stigmata. Okay, so handle is craftable. You can obtain handle if you're patient enough without needing to spend crystals. Fuhua Margrave, craftable. You know, Shuijing, craftable. If it's craftable and you can obtain it without spending crystals, it's a test of your patience, right? If you have more money than time, then maybe, right? It's a decent way to catch up and have inventory. But if you're a newer account, I wouldn't necessarily try to rely so much on backwards collecting in order to push meta. These are all the gear listed here is like fine in terms of being like old school, old meta placeholder supports that can kind of carry you up into Red Lotus and even Nirvana if you invest enough time practicing, but it's not like, it's nothing to write home about. You know, these exist in the Foundry as farmable options for you to have something to work towards as a free-to-play on a free-to-play account. Will take some time, but it is, you know, available there. You don't have to spend crystals, just patience. Elysia TMB, this is a G4 craftable set. It is a lot longer to craft than, say, Margrave and Shuijing, and even these two are G3 sets. So yeah, it is a slow grind. And then Bastet, Bastet is probably the Bastet with handle are probably the two most relevant pieces of gear to get from this banner. But again, like, you never roll on a banner for the off raids. And Bastet alone is like, it's a set of equipment that we've seen a lot in the off rates in the last two patches. I'm gonna cite my own experience in 6.4. We got so many Bastet Bs trying to get our Kiana M. So, you know, some of this gear, like, you'll just eventually get it from off rates when you're rolling for stuff that you actually want. And that, in my opinion, that's probably the more economic way. Just be patient. Now, if you can afford to top up and you don't mind just burning crystals on this, like by all means, you do you. I caution against that. It's a very irresponsible whale tactic, I would say. But, like if you can afford it, who's gonna stop you? Now, if you want to be responsible whaling, there's other tactics as far as like catching up on older equipment that are more niche that may turn up in strats. But I don't think rolling on Focus B is necessarily the best way to go about it unless you can just straight up afford it. Event supply. I think we talked about this last week. No, this is new. This is new this week. It's good. Let's take a look at the off rates. Oh, caution. Caution on Twins of Eden. This is not the uprate guarantee. It's uprate, but it's not guaranteed. So roll at your own risk. Again, in the same sentiment as the other banner. Try not to roll on this banner only if you're only looking for Twins of Eden, because there is no guarantee. You could go 100, 200 pulls and not see one. Most likely you might get one at 150 and above, but it's not it's not outside the realm of possibility for you to go 200 pulls and not see a single Twins of Eden. Willows. I've already forgotten the original CN name for this. But Willows. G4 Ice, it's not bad to have. Star of Eden Anti-Entropy is good for Hersher of Reason, but if you're not actively building Hersher of Reason, like if you're on a new account, I probably wouldn't prioritize this, but it is good for long-term to have one of these that you can synchronize. Under optimal conditions, let's say you do like 110 pull and you get Star of Eden and Twins of Eden, that's it. You're done for this banner. Liu Chi. I forget the tones. Newton and Pool Party may age better than Bastet. Yeah, but Bastet did have its time, right? I would even say, like, if you off-rated Bastet and you're saving for 6.8, you could viably still use Bastet 2-set on Kira. Right? Like, you do Bastet TM and then you do something else on the B slot, like an Irene or a Newton. But that's assuming you got enough Bastet from off rates. Like I know Fragile, you've said before, like, don't go and roll for Bastet at this point multiple times in the last handful of patches, and I certainly echo that sentiment. Like, I feel like Bastet, it had its time on release, and then that time went. That time has passed. It's still handy here and there, but it's not something to prioritize, especially for newer accounts. Some decent collectibles in here. Might of an-utu's pretty nice, right? This is actually 3 divine keys in here. So if you are on a mid-level account and you're missing some divine keys, you potentially could Giga Lucksack, get Twins of Eden, Star of Eden, and Might of an-utu. That would actually be a sick roll, right? Or getting any 2 of the 3 keys. That's actually pretty sick. Falcon Flare is handy if you have Silverwing, and for a while it was like the new tech on Haxor Bunny, but I feel like if you don't have Silverwing, you're not going to spend the materials to upgrade a Falcon Flare just for Haxor Bunny at this point in the game. Because Haxor Bunny is already more or less phased out, especially with Kira next patch. Not a lot of people other than Haxor Bunny enthusiasts will be playing Haxor Bunny anymore. Keys of Oblivion still pretty useful. Iris of the Dreams, most new players probably get Iris from their starter. That's still a thing, right? Most new players probably already get Iris from the new player events. And then Mitternacht you know, if you're official enthusiast, official is more or less kind of replaced already in high-end teams. So I would say a lot of this banner is like not bad, right? It's not bad, but it's not priority either. Like the best things that you're looking for from the weapon side is just going to be the divine keys. And then any divine key that you don't get, you would most likely try to snipe from the next firepower supply. Probably in the fall spending event for Mid-Autumn Festival. Stigmata. Willows, of course, you know, farmable G4, so it's slow. Oslog, you know, this is not terrible to get as an off rate, because the TB you can kind of use as a pseudo sub Turgenev adjacent style Stig that's just like more restrictions on it. The M is decent standalone for fire support. It's not something that's like, it is kind of out of date, right? Because Raven just, not a lot of people are using Raven, but like Oslog, not Bastet, but Oslog wasn't a terrible set. It's just, it's useful if you don't have better. It's not something that you go out of your way for. Paganini, similar situation, right? Like if you're not rolling on this banner for Paganini. If you get Paganini a handful of pieces, you know, you might hang on to them for collection and maybe you use the M piece every now and then. But most likely you should be rolling, you should have rolled for the terminal aid gear, which is, I don't think is on banner anymore, right? The banner's over for that. And then of course Bass, that's on off rate here. Li Susang Shenzhou Reminiscence. Shenzhou? I forget the tones. I gotta go watch a video. The Susang gear is probably really good if you can get those off rates here. If you're missing the pieces. If you already have the pieces, it's not gonna help. It's just resonance fodder at that point. But you know, it depends on where your account is, whether or not you feel like you're at a point you need to be investing in divine keys. Certainly good for long-term investment, for long-term account building, but if you're not playing ultra sweaty, I would probably say, you know, you only roll on this if you're a Hersher of Reason, Bronya enthusiast, a collector maybe. Now, if you're a competitive player, yes, you should definitely try to build out your divine keys. But if you're not at that point in your style of playing Honkai, I probably wouldn't worry about it so much. Outfit supply. Don't forget your first pull is free. At this point, I would only roll if you don't already have this outfit. Only if you're a true Durandal fan. So I'm going to do my free pull here. I was actually surprised, though, Fragile. Like, there's a lot of things that Kira could freeze that I didn't think she was going to freeze on the third shot of her ult. Epilepsy warning for that outfit. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of flashing lights on the ultimate. But, you know, if you're at home watching this, you've probably already played the trial stage to get those free coins. So, you know, play the trial stage and decide if it's something that you want. Or chances are you've already been planning for this. Or maybe you're saving for the Kiana swimsuit next patch, which I know some people are, you know, really looking forward to. So I think we have one more pyramid banner at the end of this patch, don't we? What does timeline say? What is the timeline? Red Riding Hood. Oh, but that's gonna be bingo. So next, this will be here for 2 weeks, and at the end of the 2 weeks, Griseo's outfit will be back in a bingo format. Elf Supply, Klein, do not roll. Unless you can afford to. Klein at this point is relegated to, like, turbo niche strats. Like, extremely niche strats that require the on-demand QTE. In all other cases, except like outside of that, you would just prefer Elf Kiana, which I believe is getting another rerun at the end of this current sequencing. The rotation goes... Oh, no. Siren is next. Siren is also not a don't roll. And then Blade Durandal after Siren. So, yeah, I would just wait for the next Elf Kiana rerun. You don't think it's worth the phase shifters? Well, it's gonna be a count. So Fragile's saying that like Bastet TM Newton will be like okay for cope gear on Kira, but my point that I do want to stress is like if you're on an account that has access to Bastet and you don't have JST TM farmed, you don't have access to Irene TB, you don't have access to Turgenev, like you got to make the most of what you have on hand. You know, and in some cases, like if you're you're in that situation where you just don't have better, or you don't want to min max and like babysit certain buff timings, like you can still use it and clear all the way up through Red Lotus, right? Like I feel like Fragile's point of view is definitely skewing more towards the min max end of things. I guess the two-piece doesn't actually need you to level it, but I wouldn't level it up. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's actually a really good caveat. So, like, if you do have Bastet on hand and you haven't leveled it, you can just run them both pieces, like, top and mid at 35. Or, you know, mid and bottom if that's all you have. And run Candy on top or Newton on bottom, depending on what pieces you're missing. That's a really good caveat. That way you can save, you know, materials and resources for the new stuff that you are rolling for. That's a very balanced take. Overall though, for week 3, this is week 3, right? Yeah, week 3 was week 4. Week 3 should be week 3. Yeah, week 3. I think for most players that aren't trying to finish out their Foca Expa, this is pretty much like you're now in saving mode for the next 2 patches probably. Next patch, I know a lot of players are looking forward to the swimsuit outfits, and then tentatively 6.8, we're expecting an S-rank Sele, just based on where the storyline is going. I know leakers have already leaked, but it's annoying, right? Leakers have already leaked, so if you're into leaks, they're out there. I'm not going to comment too much about it, but we are expecting a 6.8, probably based on where the story is headed, probably an S-rank Sele. Probably very meta-defining. So if you're F2P, you know, try your best and hold on to them crystals. Decide what your goals are, because if your goal is cosmetics, then you'll probably roll for the outfit first and then try to get the S ranker on a future rerun. But if your goal is like more competitive, you know, gameplay and playing Abyss and all that, you'll probably want to prioritize your S rank in 6.8 over the outfits. But, you know, I'll leave that for you to decide, because everybody has their own goals in this game, and you should play according to that. And that's it. That's the banner review.